Good morning, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Wellness Wednesday. It's so cool, I think, that Valentine's Day is falling on a Wednesday this year because that means I get to talk about one of my favorite things to talk about, which is self-love. So I hope you enjoyed last week's discussion. If you follow me regularly, I hope you enjoyed last week's discussion about affirmations. And if you missed it, let me know and I'll be happy to tag you in that video. If you're just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna. I am a mom, a nana, a girlfriend, a grad school student studying for my Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling, not a counselor yet, and someone who has engaged in a lifelong battle with anxiety and depression, an online boutique owner, so many things and so many things yet to come. And I hope that this page and this Wellness Wednesday series will give you some inspiration, maybe something you've heard before, but are hearing it again at just the right time. So let's get started. Again, if you enjoyed last week's video about affirmations, thank you for being there. If you didn't see it and you would like to, let me know and I'll tag you in that video. And you can always find it on my video page just by going to my page, clicking on videos and looking from there. All the Wellness Wednesday videos are there if you're ever bored. Good morning, Miss Danielle. Okay, so while today is a holiday that's touted for declaring your true love or your love for that special someone, it's also a great day to talk about the special someone that we frequently forget, and that's us. All the time, right? There's a lot of belief that it's women that commonly do this, but you would be surprised how many times men actually set themselves aside as well, and forget to take care of themselves. So when I was getting ready for this video, the song, Miley Cyrus's song, I Can Buy Myself Flowers, was heavy on my mind. And I know it's gotten a lot of attention, and some of it's been really negative attention, actually. And supposedly the story is that the message was a response to someone else's song for her, or maybe had to do with her ex-husband. But the bottom line is if you listen to the song, the message is still a very good one, whether we have a special someone in our lives or not. An interview that Miley Cyrus did with British Vogue stated that the original chorus, was, I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, but I can't love me better than you can. Translated in parentheses here, sure, I can be my own lover, but you're so much better. The article implied that Miley ultimately decided she'd rather win than wallow, which is, to me, a fantastic attitude and supports the fact that that there was really a good message in the song. And now that's what I'm talking about. I too have been lonely on Valentine's Day. I have taken this day and turned it into the bane of my existence at some points in my life. And at other points, I have made a really big deal out of it, and been deliriously happy that I had the ability to do so. And now I see it for what it is, which is another day and another opportunity out of 365 days to tell the people that I love them, and also to tell myself that I love me. So let's talk about that. BetterUp.com says, and I believe wholeheartedly, that we can't expect anyone to love us or to love anyone else truly until we learn to love ourselves. And that's kind of the theme of today. And if you follow me regularly, there's going to be things here that you have heard before, because wellness has a lot to do with mindset, and a lot of the mindset things are interrelated and interchangeable. So for those of us who have experienced childhood trauma, difficult relationships, or any number of other painful experiences, loving ourselves is not as easy as it sounds, right? The good news is that it is a skill you can develop, and I am walking proof of that. And I suspect that you may be too, if you think about it. So self-love means that you have an appreciation or a positive regard for yourself, for you. We're not talking about self-absorption. We're not talking about narcissism, and I'm not even going to get into diagnoses because I'm not licensed to. We're talking about a solid understanding of your strengths and weaknesses and appreciation for both. That means appreciating yourself despite your weaknesses and despite your mistakes. And that's an important thing. Self-love motivates us towards positive behavior while reducing, good morning, Miss Carla, happy to see you, while reducing harmful stuff, reducing harmful behavior. So when we feel good about ourselves and we see ourselves in a positive light, we have a tendency automatically to be motivated to do better, to think better, to feel better. And it empowers us to take risks that we might not otherwise take, positive risks. I don't mean like, necessarily jumping off of a bridge. Good morning, Miss Sandy. Nice to see you. What I mean is risks that might bring great reward that we might otherwise be afraid to take if we don't trust ourselves and if we don't feel good about ourselves, right? And it also empowers us to say no when we need to. So self-love is super important. And it's super important every single day, not just today. So how do we do it? So some of this stuff is stuff I've talked about before, but more specifically today, it comes from Self Magazine, Better Up, and Healthline.com. I do like to quote sources when I can, because I don't know everything. None of us do. And I do research on any of these, even if it's topics that I'm intimately familiar with and have stories, because you guys know I love to tell stories. I still do a little bit of research to back up what I'm talking about. Good morning, Miss Ann. And to give you a little bit more in-depth information, because I love to learn. So I like to research whatever I don't know. So how do we do it? We get to know ourselves. It's kind of like dating yourself. And that means making notes, trying new things, asking questions. My favorite story in this regard is about Runaway Bride. If you follow me regularly, you've probably already heard this. I saw Runaway Bride with Julia, just lost her last name, Julia Roberts, years and years and years ago. And there is only really one thing that I remember from that movie that stuck with me. And it was probably because at the time I was watching it in a frame of mind where that was the message I needed at the time. So I don't know why I'm starting to get a little teary, but just bear with me. Sorry about that. I am postmenopausal. Some days are just a little more emotional than others. In any case, in the story of Runaway Bride, the one thing that stuck out to me the most was a scene where Julia Roberts realized, or a friend stated, and I don't even remember how it came about, that she didn't even know how she liked her eggs. That she always ate her eggs and she always did everything else according to what the person she was with wanted or liked. So she didn't actually know how she liked her eggs. So there's this scene in this movie where her friend comes in the door, family member, whoever it is, and she's got eggs in different variations all over the counter and she's eating them and they're like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm trying to figure out how I like eggs." Because she didn't even know herself well enough to know what was her favorite style of cooking eggs, because it was always wrapped up in whoever she was with at the time, whoever she was involved with. And this is like the quintessential picture of what happens sometimes when we get so busy thinking that we need to have somebody important in our life, or that we need to focus 150% on whoever that person is, that we forget ourselves. And it's totally okay to love someone and have them involved and have them be a huge part of your life. But it's also important to, did anybody else see that? That was almost like a little fluffy thing that flew through, and I don't see any bugs. In any case, that's the quintessential thing, is that you should you should be comfortable enough in yourself and love yourself enough that other people and other things don't eclipse that. And that's really, really hard to do. I speak from experience. So ask yourself questions, date yourself, make notes, try new things, and ask yourself, do you trust yourself? And do you break promises to yourself? Because if you break little promises to yourself on the regular, and I can tell you definitively that I do almost on a daily basis, I break promises to myself, things that I say I'm going to make a priority on that given day, that aren't school, or my part-time job or my online business. And I break those promises anyway. So if you are constantly breaking promises to yourself, then somewhere deep down inside, you may actually not trust yourself. And that may actually make it difficult for you to trust others as well. So one of the ways that we can fix that is to build self-care routines. So once you've reflected and you've talked to yourself and you've learned a little bit about yourself and you try new things, you can build self-care routines based on what you've learned. I love to line dance. The classes that I was going to for a while have kind of disappeared and dissipated. There is still a class in town locally. It's on a night of the week that I haven't been able to make it yet. So what do? I got tired of always having to start over with line dancing and relearn dances and forget dances that I really truly love. So what I started doing was relearning them myself here at home. And at least once a week, I spend 30 to 60 minutes at home by myself with my line dancing playlist on, and I line dance. And as long as I do that at least once a week, then I retain those dances that I love. And I've even increased my self-efficacy and my belief in what I'm capable of by reteaching myself old dances that I haven't done in years. And this is the girl right here who used to say, oh no, I could never be a line dance teacher. I can't even find my way out of a wet paper bag with a step sheet. Now, if you've never line danced, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But the point here is that if it's something that you love, part of self-care is finding a way to do it on a regular basis. And in my case, that's what happened. I got tired of going 2 years in between classes and losing everything I'd learned. And I just made up my mind I wasn't doing that anymore because I truly love to line dance. So that means I dance by myself, just like Billy Idol. So you start to build self-care routines based on what you've learned that you like. If you like your eggs poached, then you eat them poached on a regular basis. And you might still eat them scrambled or over easy if that's whatever's going on, if you've got people in the house and that's the way everybody likes them. But when you cook eggs for yourself, you're going to eat them poached if that's the way you like them. That's kind of the point here. And eggs are a metaphor at this point. I'm sure you figured out. So, and it's important to include affirmations. Now, last week we talked about affirmations and how to get them started. So if you're not sure, again, how to do that, I'm happy to tag you in that video, or you can go to my video tab on my page and find those. I'm also a big proponent of spending time by yourself. It is very difficult to learn about yourself and learn what you like if you don't ever spend any time by yourself or in the quiet with your thoughts. I know that spending time by yourself with your thoughts is really scary. I know it is, but it's important. I'm a huge proponent of that. As somebody that never spent a lot of time to themselves, I've learned over time that time to myself where I can just rattle around in my space, in my brain, and on my own timeline, not on somebody else's, recharges me and re-energizes me, and it opens up creative doors for me. And it's very, very necessary. So that's part of the self-care routine that I have built based on what I've learned about myself. So include affirmations, accept compliments. This one's really, really hard because a lot of times not loving ourselves, part of that is just viewing something different in the mirror. Excuse me, where's my word? Viewing something different in the mirror than what other people see. So I know for years, and I know you probably at least once in your life, maybe a lot more, when somebody has said that you are beautiful or that you look great today or that your eyes are especially lit up or whatever the case may be, you have said, oh no, my hair's a mess, or you've said something negative that has tried to void that comment. So if you get nothing else out of this today, what I would love to know that you did is that when somebody gave you a compliment, you smiled and said, thank you very much. Yes, Carla, I knew there was somebody in here that could identify, probably more than just you, but thank you for speaking up. So at some point today, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a compliment, or if somebody else gives you a compliment and tells you you're beautiful or you're smart or you're strong or your hair looks fabulous or whatever, instead of shaking your head or dismissing it or saying, oh no, it's a mess or this old thing or whatever your general response is that brushes that compliment off, just smile and say thank you so much. And if it's appropriate, return a compliment. So like I said, if you get nothing else out of today, if every single one of you that watches today can try to do that, and just gracefully accept a compliment. Now I have thumbs up bubbles going through here. Facebook is fun today. Like I said, if you get nothing else out of today, try to do that and try to go into your next compliment, whenever that is, with that attitude that just smile and say thank you. And nothing else. Nothing else. Not this old thing, not, oh, well, I washed it today. None of that. Just smile and say thank you. Okay, so part of accepting compliments, and remember I mentioned complimenting yourself in the mirror, and we're kind of talking about how hard it is to look in the mirror sometimes and see what other people see. We see something totally different. And those of you that follow me have heard this over and over and over again, and you know that I am going to talk about this until I'm blue in the face. I will never not talk about this. I will never not say it. Carla, especially you, Danielle, I know you're going to tell me exactly what I'm going to say. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror, let's talk about self-talk. Like I said, I'm going to repeat this until I'm blue in the face. You should never, ever, ever speak to yourself in a way that you wouldn't speak to the person that you love most in your life, to your daughter, to your son, to your husband, wife, whatever the case may be, your grandparent, whoever you love most in your life, your child. If you wouldn't speak to them that way, do not speak to yourself that way. I'm very, very passionate about that. I've done it. I've witnessed it. I've had an opportunity to see how it feels for somebody else that loves you to witness it. And it's ugly. The way we talk to ourselves and tear ourselves down in the mirror, or in the proverbial mirror, is probably the most damaging talk we'll ever hear from anybody, regardless of what we've been through. So again, I will repeat this till I'm blue in the face. Your value does not lie in how you look, or more importantly, how you think you look. And it has nothing to do with how you compare yourself to others. So when you're looking in the mirror, if you're struggling to find something you love about yourself, just be thankful that you're alive. Tell yourself you made it through another day and that you're strong and important because of that. You can start there. But that negative self-talk is a huge part. Getting rid of that and rewiring that is a huge part of learning to love yourself. And it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard to look in the mirror, especially if you have any kind of body dysmorphic disorder, or any kind of eating disorder. It's really hard to look in the mirror and find anything you love about yourself, because the view you are seeing it's distorted. And what you are hearing and what you are seeing are the echoes of anything negative that anybody, including yourself, have ever heard before in your life, have ever said to you in your life. But start with, I made it through another day, and that means I'm strong and I'm capable. That is a great way to start if you're struggling with self-talk. And if you're struggling with the way, I'm 5 years post-menopause. If I'm struggling with the way my little menopause belly looks in the mirror, then I just have to remember that this body gave birth to a child, and that this body has run half marathons, and that even though I may not be totally okay with the way it looks right now, it is strong and it is capable of so many things that I never thought it was. I spoke in the last video about affirmations and about getting through my 6-hour tattoo, which was a huge deal because I didn't think I had a very high tolerance for pain. So those are the kinds of things. When you're struggling with self-talk, you look in that mirror and you think about the things that you have done that are good, and the things about you that are good. And and remember that your value has nothing to do with what you're seeing in the mirror. Okay, so speaking of self-talk, part of that is challenging our mental narrative. And Self had a particularly interesting piece that I just wanted to go ahead and read. I wasn't going to try to memorize it or paraphrase it because I just found that it spoke volumes in of itself. So challenge your mental narrative. And we've talked about this before with self-talk, about if you're struggling to find anything good to say about yourself, yes, you have to keep your mindset to the light and the shadows will fall behind you. I love that, Danielle. That's fantastic. Can we write that down and make that a quote? Because that's amazing. So that mental narrative is really important. And sometimes that mental narrative isn't just about ourselves. It's about how it's a story we tell ourselves about how we view other things as well. And if we're viewing other things with the wrong mental narrative, chances are we're viewing ourselves that way too. So this particular paragraph from the article on self that I used was really interesting to me. It says, challenge your negative mental narrative by sticking to the facts. We've talked about this before. What are the facts? Not the things you think. What are the facts? Have you made it through all the worst days of your life? Well, you're still here, so yes, you have. If you're questioning, if you're telling yourself you're a terrible employee, but you're constantly getting praise at work, what are the facts? What have you accomplished? So what they said was, Buddhists explain suffering as 2 arrows. The first arrow, and arrows are appropriate because today's Valentine's Day, right? I don't know if the Buddhists were talking about Cupid or not, probably not. Buddhists explain suffering as 2 arrows. The first arrow is the unfortunate event that happened to us. And I just had a little light bulb. A painful arrow that is outside of our control. And the second arrow is the story we tell ourselves about the event. And we've talked before about the stories we tell ourselves too. That is the second arrow. So the event, that suffering, we can't control over. But it's that second arrow that we are creating our own suffering with. That pain is self-inflicted because it's our response. And ironically, the little light bulb I had was just reading about this. We're reading about a theory right now in grad school called choice theory or reality theory. And a lot of what I talk about here, what we talk about here, falls into those categories of choice theory and reality theory. So the second arrow is the story we tell ourselves about the event. So the problem is not the event that has happened to us. The problem is our reaction to the event or the thing or the person or whatever. So self-love, Dr. Solomon says, means not shooting ourselves with that second arrow. Okay. The first arrow, for example, could be the fact that a loved one died of COVID. The second arrow could be us telling ourselves that they wouldn't have died if we would have convinced them to go to the doctor sooner. Do you see the difference there? So we're already devastated because we lost a loved one, but now we're piling it on ourselves with that second arrow, taking the blame. I think that's a fantastic example. So, or it might be you telling yourself that you should have spent the holidays with them, despite the fact that they weren't vaccinated. In other words, and I'm going to be very careful here because I don't even want to get into this can of worms, but I just thought that this was a really good explanation and these were really good examples of what I'm talking about here. In other words, a situation can be emotionally painful, of course, but the story we tell ourselves about it is often the main cause of our suffering. So we can work on this. This is something we can work on by sticking to the facts. What are the facts? Is it something we could have controlled? In fact, that makes me think maybe next week we'll talk about an exercise I learned from NAMI in determining whether or not this. I know the arrows, Carla. Oh my gosh. When I read that, and y'all know I try not to touch too much on religion here. I try to touch more on spirituality and whatever works for you, the person that's listening. But that one was just, it was just amazing. I found it to be an amazing analogy. So maybe we'll talk soon about an exercise I learned in determining whether or not something is a behavior I can control or something that I can't. But that might be a topic for another day. In any case, so part of that negative self-talk is changing our mental narrative. Set and enforce boundaries. This was a recent discussion topic too. Little did I know when I chose boundaries and affirmations that I wasn't paying attention to the fact that it would lead right into this discussion. So if you missed that video and you feel like boundaries are something you need to hear a little more about or talk a little bit more about, again, let me know. I'll tag you in that video. And don't be afraid to let go of toxic people. If there's people you're spending time with that just always make you feel miserable, then you need to rethink how you're responding to them. And that may mean not responding to them, right? Find beauty and gratitude in simple things. You guys know I'm a huge fan of gratitude. But there are some days where I go outside and I look at the birds in the feeder and you would think it was the first time I ever saw a bird. So try looking at things basically like through the eyes of a child. Try to see, when you see things, even if it's something you've seen 100 times before, try looking at it, and that includes yourself. Try looking at it as if it's the first time you're seeing it and enjoy the wonder of it and find joy in it and find gratitude in it, whatever it is. If it's a flower outside or if it's a little lizard on your front door, if it's the way the sun shines in a particular part of your yard, whatever it is, find joy and beauty and gratitude in simple things. Sometimes those little tiny simple things, those are the big things when we start putting them all together. Take or create opportunities. This is one from Healthline that I would have had in here, but I felt that their explanation was better than mine, and probably shorter too, because y'all know I can get a little bit. Take every opportunity life presents or create your own. The timing is never going to be perfect to take the next big step in your life, whatever that is. The setup may not be ideal, but that shouldn't hold you back from reaching out to meet your goals and dreams. Instead, seize the moment because it may never come back. So take risks, take those chances. And if there's something you really want to do, like remember your line dances, then if you can't find a way to do that, then you can create a way to do that. And you just have to really know yourself. It goes back to really knowing yourself and really knowing what you want, and then wanting it enough that you're willing to create an opportunity if there isn't one presenting itself. And sometimes just working on it and working on creating opportunities will actually open up doors, because now you're focused on that, and that's the red car, and now you're seeing all the red cars going down the road. Does this sound familiar? And then other people's opinions. This is an important part of self-love. We really, really put a lot of emphasis on what other people think of us, what other people think we're doing, about what we're doing, what other people think we should do, whatever. What other people think of us does not matter. It does not matter. Now, if we are down on ourselves and they are giving us positive reinforcement to make us feel better, then that matters, and that might need to be taken into consideration. But if you are doing something that you truly want to do and it's really not hurting anybody else, or you're feeling some type of way about yourself that is making you feel great and it's not hurting anybody else, whatever. Basically, if you think it's stupid that I line dance by myself here, does that matter? Absolutely not. Because you're not here. You don't have to watch it. Unless I take a video and then I might force you to watch it. That's probably not going to happen. But if I want to do it and it makes me happy and I'm not hurting anybody else, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So these are some of the ways that we start building a self-love routine and learning to love ourselves. Again, probably things you've heard before, but maybe you just haven't been in the right frame of mind to hear them. And that's why I tend to put certain concepts on repetition, not just to remind myself, but to remind you too, because there were many, many things that I heard over and over and over again for most of my life. And all of a sudden, when I was like 42 years old, or 38 years old, anywhere from 38 to 42, it seemed like some of those things just started to click. Oh my gosh, I really am responsible for 98% of my misery. You know what I mean? So sometimes we just have to hear it over and over. So remember these final things. It's a practice, not a destination. And practice makes perfect, and perfect is relative. So happiness, self-love, all of those things, those are not a destination. Those are a practice. Those are a journey. So if you stink at this and you just don't even think you're capable, start with one thing. Start with telling yourself you're capable in the mirror, and that it's okay to change, and it's okay to take care of yourself and love yourself. Number 2, give yourself grace, and remember that where you are isn't who you are. So if you're not exactly where you want to be, that doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have anything to do, where you are doesn't have anything to do, or where you are not has nothing to do with the kind of person you are. You need to give yourself grace and remember that you make mistakes, and that perfect doesn't equal love. Those two things do not go together. Because we all make mistakes, and that doesn't when we make mistakes, when we make mistakes, it doesn't make us a bad person, and it also doesn't make us unlovable. And neither does your past. So where you are right now, be content, try to be content in it. But if it's not where you want to be, set goals and make a plan to work towards where you want to be. And remember that it's only about the kind of person you are as long as it takes for you to figure out what you've learned and then move forward from that lesson. Okay? Number 3, to remember, you can buy yourself flowers. This is one of the simple, huge things of self-love. If you want flowers, you don't have to wait for anybody else to buy them. You can go down to Publix. Publix has some beautiful flowers that are very inexpensive. Grab yourself a bouquet of flowers, bring them home, put them on the kitchen table, put them on the counter, put them wherever you spend time. Smell the flowers, look at the flowers, enjoy the flowers. It doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter if they came from the florist or the grocery store, and it doesn't matter if you bought them or somebody else does. If you want flowers, buy yourself flowers. Yes, it's great when somebody else does it for us, but I can actually remember times where I was laying on my couch at home watching TV, crying on Valentine's Day that nobody bought me flowers. When I could have just as easily, when I was at the grocery store buying the whatever frozen pizza I was buying for dinner that night, could have gotten my own flowers. So keep that in mind. It is, in fact, that second arrow that we shoot ourselves with that creates the problem most of the time. So you can buy yourself flowers. You can buy yourself chocolate. If you have somebody else to do that for you today, that's great. What if you want flowers in a week? What if you want flowers in a month? What if you're walking through the grocery store and you see some beautiful flowers and it's just a nice day and you're feeling extra good? Should you buy them? Abso-freaking-lutely. You should buy the flowers. And that's what Miley was trying to say. These are all things you can do for yourself. If you have someone in your life that can share that and do those things for you, that's wonderful. But it's still important that you do those things for yourself because you count and you need to love yourself as much as anybody else loves you and as much as you love anyone else. And then not just today, not just on Valentine's Day. Just like you don't need a special day to tell your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your partner, whatever. You don't need somebody to give you a special day and say, okay, now is the day. Now is the day you can tell them that you love them. Only today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Today's it. This is your one chance. We don't have to act like that. We can do that every single day. If you want to buy your husband or your wife a card because you're thinking about them and you stumbled on a card that really reinforces how you feel, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, just do it. It doesn't matter what day of the month it is, it doesn't matter what holiday it is, just do it. And we also don't need a special day to love ourselves. Every single day is that day. Every single day is that day to love ourselves and to love the people around us. So on this Valentine's Day, enjoy your normal Valentine's celebrations, whatever they look like, whether you acknowledge it, don't acknowledge it, buy things, celebrate, go out to dinner, whatever that is, enjoy it. And then remember that tomorrow can be Valentine's Day too, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, whether you're out to dinner with your sweetheart or looking in the mirror at yourself. Every single day can be Valentine's Day if you make it that way. Okay, that's all I have today. A little bit long, not too bad. But I hope you got something out of this. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is often on repeat, but sometimes we have to hear it like 8,000 times, and then 8,001, all of a sudden the light bulb goes on and we're like, wow, that's amazing. Like we'd never heard it before. So again, take those simple things, find joy, find gratitude, look at them like you've never looked at them before. Go to the mirror and look at yourself like you've never looked at yourself before and find all the amazing things about yourself. And as I said, if you get nothing else out of today, at least the next time someone gives you a compliment, just smile and say thank you. Even if that's the hardest thing you've ever done, just smile and say thank you. Okay, that's all I've got for you. I hope you have a fabulous day, however you are celebrating it, even if it's just a regular old normal day where you go to work and go home and eat dinner and go to bed. I hope it's amazing. Make the best of it, and happy, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you. Bye.